So today I am going to speak on identity theft and how it was done and why it was done, because it has taken me years to sort this mess out that I've been dealing with. So back when I lived in Ohio in 2015, my phone's internet stopped working and I kept calling the phone company, and they kept saying there was nothing wrong with my internet, or I'd go to the store and it'd work there because it was hooked into theirs, and then I'd come home and it wouldn't work. I must have made 50 trips down to T-Mobile about this, right? So, me being the investigator, I realized there was something either in my attic or on my roof that was blocking my internet connection. Maybe some type of antenna, maybe, I'm not sure exactly what it was. So I would go to the library and I would get online because that's the only place I could have internet, right? So while I was gone for 2.5, 3 hours at the library, my house was being entered. And what I knew, because I would set traps, like one of my favorite ones was putting a can behind the door and then seeing if the can moved. Okay, like I set traps. So anyhow, one day I came home from the library and I noticed that the lock to my filing cabinet was broken. Now, somewhere in my subconscious, I must have known somebody wanted my documents because I had a locking filing cabinet. Why would I have a locking filing cabinet? Well, they started this little thing saying you shouldn't carry your social security card and you shouldn't carry this and that. So I would put all those things, birth certificate and that kind of thing, in this locked file with my divorce papers and marriage papers and all that, right? So what happened was the lock got broke, and I had had my marriage and divorce papers in this thing with a ribbon wrapped around it. Well, one day I was getting under my sink and I found that thing. It was like a felt thing with a ribbon wrapped around it under my sink, and my divorce and marriage papers were gone. I really didn't understand the whole magnitude of who would want my marriage papers. Well, then they came out with this thing, because of the Patriot Act, that you needed proof of every name you ever used at the Driver's License Bureau. I didn't find this out until I moved to Florida, and the reason I moved to Florida was to get away from the crazy things that were going on in my home and the way that my family was treating me, because they were totally annihilating me. They were outcasting me. They were telling my neighbors lies about me, treating me terrible, not inviting me to Christmas, treated me like a horrible person that I never have been. So I didn't put together for many years that they were the ones that broke into my filing cabinet and took all my documents. But I couldn't figure out why my documents were taken, but I've since figured that out. My sister faked her death, and she went to the License Bureau with my documents and got a license with her picture on my name, right? And this was done so she could steal my inheritance. And I had gotten a letter that said I was getting X amount of money, which it wasn't equated to what my father told me I was getting. It wasn't the same amount. It was way less. And documents were changed and amounts were changed. And while I lived in Vandalia in 2019, my apartment was entered and all my documents were once again taken. A bunch of personal documents, bank statements, bank account numbers, all kinds of stuff. It was taken. So what's the commonality in that? Well, the commonality is every time I move to Ohio, my stuff starts coming up missing. But who would really know what I had coming except my family? You see, the lack of communication, when there is a will, everyone sits down and they read the will and they tell you what you're getting. Well, this was a will and a trust. That never took place. They never told me how much. Now, they did come to my house one time and said, nothing's settled yet. Now, at this point, I'd only gotten the POD account. But she had told me there was millions coming in, and it was going to take a long time to settle. And that was the place that they entered and took the last few pictures of my children. And that was painful because before they had stolen my photo albums, and then the few pictures I had left that were probably in a suitcase in my trunk, those also came up missing. So I have like 10 pictures of my life, and that's it. But who would want these things? Oh, if you're going to pretend to be somebody, you're going to need all their yearbooks, you're going to need all their pictures, which I'm sure these photo albums and everything with my life were probably all burned. They used to have a bonfire at my niece's house, and they were probably getting rid of evidence. So I had to pay money to get all my documents back when I was in Ohio, which I did. And the old documents resurfaced when I lived in Tallahassee. They came back. So I couldn't understand, like, I'd go into the office and the people there were very nice and helpful. And they would have like donuts and coffee and this and that. Like after 3 months of me living there, all this stuff started happening. And they were all walking on cloud nine, and I couldn't really figure out what it was, but it was so my sister could get the key. She bribed these people, not just with food, but with money too, so that she could enter my house, my residence, and bring back the things she stole because I had reported them stolen. So she brought these documents back, which probably have all been altered at this point. But I had gotten a copy of the trust, and they had lied to me, and my dad had told me the truth before he died, that I was getting the same thing as everyone else. So the trust came in the mail when I lived in Vandalia, and these were things I never saw before. This trust says I was getting 20%. There was 5 of us. All of us were getting 20%. And they even added a name to my mom's son before she married my dad. My dad would have never put his name in the will. So that was fictitious. And yeah, they've been changing documents since 2008. See, I found out when my mom died that I was supposed to get money then, and I didn't get any money. And when my grandma died, I was supposed to get money then, but instead they put me in a hospital and said I was crazy, right? Now, most recently, I talked to my sister and asked her why I was not included in the will, why she didn't explain everything in detail to me, how much money my dad had and all this, because those pages were removed when I lived in Ohio. My mail was opened because they've been rerouting my mail for years. It was opened and a check for $90,000 was taken out, and some other things were taken out, and names changed, like putting this fictitious name on there. But see, in the other part it says we're all getting 20%, but then in another part it says Dennis, which was my mom's son before she married my dad, was also in the will, and his children. So I have been really taken advantage of, and I do believe there's a law that says if somebody is disabled, that crimes against a disabled person are more serious, especially theft, than another. My disability is because I was poisoned with mercury, and my sister worked for the dentist. I wasn't supposed to survive, but I'm now 65 and I'm still here. This person has ran to the police, told them I was a prostitute, told them all these lies. I'm a thief, I'm this, I'm that, and I'm none of those things. Never was. The only time I did things that weren't right was when I had these things put in and my thinking was off, because metal is an energy conductor and your brain is an electrical impulsed item. So when you enter metal into your body, it interferes with every process of your body, including your heartbeat, your brain, how you think, how you reason. But now it's been 40 years since I had these put in, and it seems like I'm not going to be able to get them taken out, because every time I try, there's some, oh, it's going to be $10,000. Well, if I had the money that was owed to me, I could do what I needed to do. But since it's being divvied out by the month, millions of dollars, yeah, $800 a month. Yeah, it's just a little hard for me to be able to take care of my health and the things I need to take care of. But they're using that as I'm a danger to myself, right? No. I want to take care of myself, but with everyone stealing everything I get, it's hard to do. And somehow, I believe my glorious life is getting ready to take a turn for the better, because I can prove everything I'm saying. And yeah, I can even back it up with documents that prove they lied. When you fake your death, you normally have something to hide, and it's usually something quite large. And I was doing some research on my name, and I came across a death record, and it said that I died twice. So the way that they got my name removed from these documents is they told the bank I passed away. Well, I've had many attempts on my life since. This is no joke, and this has got to cease. They always pick one member of the family to say, she's crazy, so they can steal what belongs to them. Aren't they clever? Or so they think, but God's got all the glory, and He's getting ready to make some changes in my documents. With that, I will close. God bless, and I have no hate for anybody, but I sure wish I could get an apology, but probably not gonna. Good day, and God bless.